Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about what a play says about your kid. I'm Rita and today it's all about you. Play is the most important thing that a kid can have. Children learn through play to develop cognitive skills, physical abilities, vocabulary, language, social and literacy skills. Through play, a child learns to communicate, to solve problems and conflicts, to bond with others and increase their own learned abilities. Learn helps to understand and express feelings and emotions. It really helps a child that suffers from obesity, reduce stress and anxiety, and prevents children's depression. But a play also can transmit how a child learns through it, how a play influences a child, and how she is influenced by others, by siblings, by friends, by all the other children that can surround her. As parents, we have to be aware of all of these facts and avoid to overwhelm the child with other activities. All children have to have time to play every day of their own childhood. When playing alone, a child can learn about emotions, interests, and the adaptation of different situations. But when playing with others, a child usually goes through 6 important stages. Until 3 months old, a baby may eventually make a lot of movements with arms and legs, but they are not really playing. They are just exploring their own situation in the space, which we can call the proprioception. And this is our sixth sense, and this is what babies do when they are moving around their own legs and their own arms. They are actually learning about this sixth sense, about this proprioception. Until 2 years old, even the child is surrounded by others, they don't play together. During this age, the child doesn't play with other children, they usually play alone. This stage usually happens around 2 years old, and it is a middle behavior between the last stage and the next one. This is the time where the child starts to pay attention to other kids play around her, particularly older children like siblings, for instance, but she just observes. She doesn't engage in any kind of plays, and usually they don't play together. This phase starts around 2.5 years and 3 years old and can happen during an entire year. And in this phase, the child plays alongside with other children, but not really together. They can eventually play with more or less the same toys or the same kind of play, but they are playing side by side, not really with each other. In this phase that goes between 3 and 4 years old, the child starts to interact directly with others. They may eventually play with the same game or the same type of game, not really playing together. We cannot consider that the child are playing together, but they are starting to understand the feeling of being in the same kind of play as other person, as other children, and they start to feel curious about this type of plays. And this is the last stage, the stage where a child starts to play with each other, it goes around 4 or 5 years old, when they have actually interest in similar activities. They focus on the same efforts and they want to have the same type of goals. And this involves taking turns, sharing, negotiation and other type of skills necessary to build and maintain a relationship. And these are the main phases that can help or that can be a guidance for parents and caregivers to know what to expect in the different ages of the children. And after or during this phase that usually goes along all childhood, you can also expect another thing that it's important to mention here, that is the competitive play, which is important for children to regulate not just their own emotions in general, but the frustration in particular. But during this last phase, we can also observe other kind of phases that are not so much important, because they can happen or not. They are not really something that all kids go through, and they also are these phases that a child can just go through with no order whatsoever. And in this way we can actually watch a constructive play phase where a child needs to be encouraged to try again and not give up easily, which is something important to develop cognitive skills. Fantasy play or play pretend is something that we can observe during this age too, and this can actually give you an idea of the child through life. So you can have an idea of what the child sees her own life, what are the things that she is experiencing during the day and how she's dealing with it. And this type of play can really increase the cooperation, the language skills, the creativity and the imagination in any children. Physical plays, they really encourage the child to develop the physical skills, and the symbolic plays, they usually are used to express ideas and feelings, emotions, traumas, points of view, perspectives, in a much more psychotherapeutic kind way. So these symbolic plays are the ones that usually are used by therapists that want to evaluate a certain kind of issue in children. As we saw, play is very important, but each children needs their own time and their own space to do it and to develop their own skills. And this is something that comes naturally and independently. This is something that should not be really overwhelmed by parents that want their kids to develop certain type of skills during plays when it's not really something that comes natural from the child. So these lessons learned from plays are something that parents should not actively teach or interfere, because this is something that a child needs to discover by themselves in their own time, in their own pace, in order to learn these skills in a proper way. Here we are not doing any kind of diagnosis of play, because play should be dynamic and diverse. These are actually just guidelines for parents and caregivers to really understand the value of play and to encourage them to play more often with their children. Another thing that is important to remember is that each children achieve these kind of phases in different timings and in different ways. We as parents just have to respect their own timing and not force unnatural skills in different ways and in too much young or too old children. And so that's all for today, guys. I hope you like it. I hope you subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, share with a friend, comment if you want, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye!